Thank you so much for joining us here today. This event serves as a unique opportunity to recognize and celebrate the public service commitment of lawyers in Tennessee, whether that service is through government or civic positions, educating the next generation of lawyers, personal pro bono efforts, or service with one of the many legal services organizations that provide direct assistance to those in need. Today, we have the opportunity to honor the remarkable work and dedication of the TBA Public Service Award honorees. These individuals have gone above and beyond their commitment to provide meaningful access to justice for those in need in our state. In acknowledging those who set the example of service to others, we are reminded of the challenges we face in meeting the urgent needs of the underserved in our communities. Today's honorees, along with our featured speaker, Robert Gray, all represent incredible examples of recognizing and meeting these needs and fulfilling the highest ethical obligations of our profession. Jim Berry, the chair of our Access to Justice Committee, will present today's Public Service Awards. And I want to share a brief introduction before we welcome Jim to present our awards. Jim is recently retired from International Paper, where he served as Chief Counsel for Corporate and Legacy Litigation. It is probably no surprise to anyone who knows Jim that in retirement he's enjoying recreational travel, time with family, and preparing for grandparenthood. He just shared with me his two daughters that are currently expecting, one with twins. I don't know if I was supposed to share that, but Jim continues to make bar leadership and service to Access to Justice community top priorities. Jim joined our Tennessee Bar Association Board of Governors this past year and is active with the Memphis Bar Association's Access to Justice Committee. Jim also serves as board chair for Community Legal Services and previously held that same title with Memphis Area Legal Services. Jim also co-chairs the Corporate Counsel Pro Bono Initiative. We're so fortunate to have someone with Jim's skill, passion, and determination as the TBA Access to Justice Committee Chair. Please help me welcome Jim Berry to the podium to present the TBA's Public Service Awards.
Well, thank you, Jason. Nobody told me he was going to say all that, and it's mildly embarrassing. But yes, we are having a litter of grandchildren in the spring. On behalf of the entire TBA Access to Justice Committee, we're delighted to present this year's annual TBA Public Service Awards. Before we recognize our award honorees, I'd like to ask the members of the TBA Access to Justice Committee who are present to please stand so we can recognize your service. Now we turn to our annual Public Service Awards. Today we recognize a few of the outstanding members of our profession who have committed themselves to the legal service of those most in need and with the least access to help. You can also read more about each of our honorees in your program, as well as in the January 2019 issue of the TBA Bar Journal. Our first award recognizes exceptional pro bono work by a law student. The Law Student Volunteer of the Year Award recognizes the efforts of an individual enrolled or recently graduated from a Tennessee law school that has provided dedicated and outstanding pro bono service during the past year. This award is particularly important in that it serves as a reminder to those who are taking their first steps entering our profession that ours is a unique profession that promotes a lifetime commitment of pro bono service. This year, we're pleased to present the Law Student Volunteer of the Year Award to Amber Vargas, a 2018 graduate of the University of Tennessee College of Law. Amber is an outstanding example that law students, even before they become licensed attorneys, have the opportunity to make an impact and to represent the most noble aspects of our profession. Amber is from Camden in Benton County, where she has always had an empathetic heart and a desire to help others. She knew what she wanted to do from a young age, although she wasn't always sure of how to do it. She's been an active volunteer on behalf of the domestic violence victims since she was an undergraduate at Maryville College. Amber said she always knew that she always wanted to be a lawyer. Quote, "I wanted to work with people who otherwise wouldn't have a voice, either by intimidation by the process, lack of education, or poverty. I wanted to represent people like that." In her nomination, Legal Aid of Middle Tennessee and the Cumberlands attorney Rachel Moses said Amber has, quote, "such a calm demeanor and a compassion and empathy for victims, and it comes from a sincere place." Rachel helped Amber on board to her original internship at LAS. Amber also had an internship with Legal Aid of East Tennessee. These internships were pivotal for Amber, who says, quote, "That was the first time I saw legal aid attorneys at work. I was like, that's a thing? This is a job? That's what I want to be. I can't believe people get paid to do this. It's perfect." Fortunately, soon after graduating from law school and even before she was licensed, Amber earned what she calls her dream job, working as an attorney at LAS. And we're thrilled that Amber is officially part of Tennessee's legal services community. We're so fortunate to have her. The TBA's Access to Justice Committee recognizes Amber for her hard work, dedication, and commitment and presents her with the Law Student Volunteer of the Year Award. Amber, please come up and accept your award and take a moment to say a few words.
Thank you so much. I'm very honored by this award. I want to thank Rachel for nominating me, for everybody in this profession who helped me get through the last 3 years, to my family for getting me through the last 25. And I just like the job that I can't believe exists and I'm so glad to have. It's very nice to be honored for doing something that I love to do. So thank you.
Our next award is the Ashley T. Wilshire Public Service Attorney of the Year Award. This award was named after Ashley upon his retirement from Legal Aid of Middle Tennessee and the Cumberlands and honors his legacy of leadership and service that spans more than 3 decades. The Ashley T. Wilshire Public Service Attorney of the Year Award is given to an attorney who has provided dedicated and outstanding service while employed by an organization that is primarily engaged in providing legal representation to the poor. The Ashley T. Wilshire Public Service Attorney of the Year Award this year goes to Adrian Quitos from Justice for Our Neighbors. For the past 9 years, Adrian has served as a legal director at the nonprofit Justice for Our Neighbors, embracing and promoting JFON's mission of providing high-quality immigration representation while also counseling and supporting thousands of immigrants in Tennessee. Adrian began to work with immigrants while an undergraduate at Vanderbilt Law and joined the fledgling Nashville JFON office right out of Vanderbilt Law School as its first full-time attorney. Vanderbilt Law's Spring Miller wrote in her nomination of Adrian, quote, "She has tremendous humility and grace, always shying from the spotlight and staying laser-focused on the needs of her clients before her. She has secured immigration protection and lawful permanent residence status for hundreds of victims of criminal activity and domestic violence, ensuring that those individuals and their family have the opportunity to live safe, healthy lives in the U.S. To say that she has transformed the lives of hundreds of families in Middle Tennessee over the past 9 years would be an understatement. Adrian's commitment extends far beyond utilizing her technical knowledge into forming partnerships, recruiting and supporting volunteers, and engaging in education and outreach to immigrant communities, attorneys, and the larger community. Adrian says that right now, fear in the immigrant community is prevalent, and JFON has to balance providing education and legal support with the reality that recent legal changes are eliminating options that existed in the past. Adrian also notes that, quote, "Things are so divisive. It's hard to help people understand who it is we're working with. I think a lot of that is a misunderstanding of how our immigration system works. I talk to people who are not friendly to the work I do, but it's because they really don't understand. I honestly believe that for many people, if they had a little more education about what people are facing and what the immigration system really looks like, we would be in a better place. For her dedication and service to those in need, the Tennessee Bar Association proudly awards the Ashley T. Wilshire Public Service Attorney of the Year Award to Adrian Quitos. We're pleased to have Ashley Wilshire in our audience today, and he's going to join me in presenting the award to Adrian. At this time, I'll ask both Ashley and Adrian to come forward. And Adrian, you're welcome to share a few words.
Thank you to the TBA for this honor and for your continued promotion of pro bono and public service work. I'm a little bit biased, but I think the work that JFund does is so important, and I feel so grateful to have been able to be a part of that over the last years, which continuing to do that work truly takes a village. So I'd like to quickly thank our board and supporters, members of the private bar and other nonprofits who are so generous with their time and their expertise, my colleagues, and my lovely husband who is endlessly supportive. So thank you very much.
Our next award is the Harris Gilbert Pro Bono Volunteer of the Year Award. This award is named for Nashville attorney Harris A. Gilbert, who served as president of the Tennessee Bar Association from 1994 to 1995. His dedication to the development and delivery of legal services has been recognized as a model for all members of our profession. This award is given to an attorney who has either contributed significant amounts of pro bono work in terms of the number of pro bono cases or by the significance of a single case, and has demonstrated a profound dedication to the development and delivery of legal services to the poor. Where was I? Let's see. This award is given to an attorney who has either contributed significant amounts of pro bono work in terms of the number of pro bono cases or the significance of a single case, and who's demonstrated a profound dedication to the development and delivery of legal services to the poor. This year, it is our pleasure to present the Harris Gilbert Pro Bono Volunteer of the Year Award to Angie Bergman for her extensive and unique pro bono service. Angie's work on one particular case stands out because of both the quantity of time she's devoted and the passion for justice that she brings to her work. Then Metro Nashville Public Defender Dawn Diener called Angie's assistance for a client who had been indicted on a murder charge 3 years prior. John Hernandez remained incarcerated as his case was repeatedly delayed because the underfunded public defender's office did not have the resources to handle all of its cases. Mr. Hernandez filed a motion seeking to represent himself so his trial could occur as soon as possible and raised the claim that he had been deprived of his Sixth Amendment right to a speedy trial based on the lengthy post-indictment incarceration. His assertion of a right to a speedy trial and his request to represent himself because of an underfunded public defender's office highlighted that he was being forced to choose between constitutional rights, his right to counsel and his right to a speedy trial. The public defender's office sought Angie's assistance on this question. Her mission was to prove that the post-indictment delay to her client's trial should be attributed to the state because of the systemic underfunding of the public defender's office. It was a daunting task. Angie had just been back from maternity leave for a mere 2 weeks after having her second child and had never practiced in this area before and knew how big this project would be. Yet by her account and by those who nominated her for this award, she immediately and enthusiastically came on board, immersing herself in data from public defenders' offices across the state. According to the client's public defenders, Georgia Sims and Kevin Griffin, Angie's commitment to the case went far beyond crunching data. They said she never hesitated to sit down in a jail cell and discuss litigation strategies with Mr. Hernandez. She never lost sight of Mr. Hernandez's humanity or the importance of his voice. The trial court ultimately denied the motion to dismiss Mr. Hernandez's case due to the violation of his constitutional rights, and he was convicted. but also noted that, quote, a legitimate question was raised regarding the underfunding of the public defender's office. True to form, Angie was eager to continue the representation of her client in the appeals process. Last fall, she argued before the Court of Criminal Appeals and is waiting a ruling. While Angie has 425 hours and counting of pro bono work invested in this case, she's quick to share credit with the team of lawyers and paralegals she worked alongside, and she remains grateful to the support of her family, her firm, and the Metro Nashville Public Defender's Office. For her ongoing commitment to pro bono services for those in need, the Tennessee Bar Association proudly awards the Harris Gilbert Pro Bono Volunteer of the Year Award to Angie Bergman. We're happy to have Harris Gilbert with us today, and Harris will join me in presenting this award to Angie. This time, I'll ask both of you to come forward, and we'll allow you to say a few words, Angie.
Thank you for this. I'm very honored. I want to repeat again that this has been a joint effort. This project in particular was supported by a number of lawyers at Fastberry and Sims. I think we had about a dozen folks helping out at any given time. And then also to Don Diener, Georgia Sims, Kevin Griffith, and Jeffrey DeVasher, who are the attorneys who were trial counsel and appellate counsel for Mr. Hernandez, just right alongside me. Just a couple of quick things. First, the crisis at the Public Defender's Office, as many of you know, is not over. When we were litigating this case, the attorneys, when we were crunching the data, had between 200 and 1,000 cases on their caseload every single year. There were numbers that I just couldn't understand as a civil litigator, and I know that despite the incredible lawyering that they do, despite the hours that they put in, there's just no way to catch up in situations like that. And so I want us all to remain cognizant, and we're going to continue to be fighting for those folks to have the resources they need to be the lawyers that they want to be. And then secondly, just the thing that I learned in this case and that I know that has changed me as a lawyer was something that the Public Defender's Office does better than almost anybody I've met in centering their clients' voices. This case happened because John Hernandez stood up in a courtroom and said that he knew something was wrong, and he was fed up with the situation at hand. And so his lawyers listened. His lawyers, he couldn't articulate necessarily how we were going to make the argument from a Supreme Court case, but he knew that something was wrong. And so his lawyers came alongside to build the argument that he wanted, to listen to the things that he needed, to believe his voice. And I believe that we will be taught and we will find equality when we are listening to the folks on the margins. The only way out of the situation that we are in is to be thinking a little bit less that we know what we're doing and to be listening to the folks who actually are experiencing these things day to day. So I'm grateful for the work, grateful to have learned that from the people who are on the front lines doing the best work. Thank you very much.
Very proud of Angie, and you know, the second contributor to legal aid of Middle Tennessee back in 1965 or 6 or 7 or somewhere along there was Mr. James Bass Sr. And he, thank God, is still alive. You can remind him that I came to see him to get a contribution. I didn't know a thing about fundraising. I just figured he's a good friend of mine, and we've been together on a case, and he's a wonderful man. I was going to get some money from him. The first words he said, "What about Reber? How much did he give you?" Talking about Reber bolts. I said, "I can't say that." He said, "I'll tell you what, I'm going to match him. I'm not going to let him get ahead of me, and I'm going to give you a check." He just pulled out a great big checkbook and wrote me a check. I thought I was great, but I always thought Mr. Bass was a wonderful man and had a great interest, and surprisingly, he had a real soul feeling for people who are not so fortunate. And sometimes that's not well known, but he is. He's a man of real principle, and we're lucky to be in the firm.
Before I turn the podium back over to Jason, I want to take a moment to highlight some of our upcoming events this spring. On Friday, April 5th, the Tennessee Supreme Court Access to Justice Commission will host a statewide pro bono summit. This event will be an opportunity to learn more and get involved with Tennessee's free and low-cost legal resources. On Saturday, April 6th, following the spring meeting of the TBA's Access to Justice Committee, we will host two events in conjunction with the Corporate Counsel Pro Bono Initiative. First, a pro bono service event that provides an opportunity to connect new and experienced pro bono attorneys with a variety of legal service organizations and opportunities across the state. That evening, we'll host the 13th annual Corporate Counsel Pro Bono Initiative Gala, a reception and dinner celebrating the collaborative efforts of corporate counsel and the Access to Justice community in Tennessee. All of these events will be held in downtown Nashville, and more information is available in your program. Finally, thank you for your commitment to pro bono, legal aid, and public service work in general. We're grateful for all those in the legal community that help make justice a reality in large and small ways for disadvantaged people, and recognize that many of these efforts are accomplished quietly without much attention. I hope you continue to expand all this work for the years to come. Thank you.
Jim, thank you for those presentations, and congratulations again to all of our honorees. Let's give them another round of applause. And Jim, thank you for your service and your leadership with the Access to Justice Committee. I am now honored and privileged to introduce our keynote speaker, Robert Gray, Jr. He's had an incredibly distinguished career, and this introduction could last all afternoon if I listed all of them. Robert is the president of the Leadership Council on Legal Diversity, previously practiced with the Hunton & Williams firm in Richmond, Virginia. I think the firm has a different name now, but okay. His practice focused on representing businesses in administrative, regulatory, and legislative matters. He spent 3 years away from the practice of law as chairman of the Virginia Alcohol Beverage Control Board when he was just 31 years old. In 2010, Robert was appointed by President Barack Obama to the Board of Legal Services Corporation, where he was confirmed. Robert was later elected chair, or before that was elected chair of the ABA House of Delegates in 1998, and then later served as the 128th president of the American Bar Association. His signature project during his term as ABA president was the America Jury Initiative. He received his undergraduate degree in 1973 from Virginia Commonwealth University and law degree in 1976 from Washington and Lee University. Please join me in welcoming my friend, Robert Gray.
Good afternoon. My fellow colleagues of the bar and my cousins from Tennessee. It is hard not to say that. I have enjoyed your invitation to speak in this great state on several other occasions. And each time it's a little bit like coming home, my second home, but I appreciate the hospitality that you show each time. I welcome the opportunity to share with you the many things I think that we as lawyers in service to our country have so much to be thankful for. You have had an incredible run of bar leaders that continue to this day. I will never forget, after being elected president, one of the first calls I got was from this guy named Shep Tate in Memphis, who said, Robert, every president of the American Bar Association has spoken to my Rotary Club. I don't expect you to break that streak. And I said, well, Shep, I'd be happy to come and speak to the Rotary Club. He said, thank you very much, and I will make arrangements for that to happen. So he called my secretary. He called and said, I'm scheduling Robert's visit to Memphis, and I wanted to know what he wanted to eat for dinner. I have an idea for some barbecue, but I wanted to be sure that that would be okay. My secretary missed the cue and said he'd rather have steak. So I got off, and Shep picked me up at the airport. I got off the plane and got in the car. I said, oh, Shep, I'm delighted to be here. I didn't know what had transpired before. I'm delighted to be here. Where are we going to dinner? And he said, this steak place, I'm taking you to the steak. I said, steak? I thought we were going to have barbecue. Your secretary said you didn't like barbecue. I said, no, I want to get barbecue. So we went to Corky's and we had barbecue. Gail Ashworth, John Tarpley, Lucien Pera, and many others who have participated actively in the ABA are considered and recognized not only for their commitment, but for their spirit of service. They give willingly, they give unselfishly, and I am happy not only to call them my friends, but to encourage you to encourage Lucien Pera to find a way to help lead the American Bar Association at the highest level, because we need lots of talent and help to keep this big organization going. Now, he served as treasurer and did a fantastic job. I can tell you that treasurer is not the most fun job in the world, particularly when everybody wants a little bit of money for their particular causes. Lucien, very diplomatic, very, very thoughtful in the way he addresses everybody. I think you have a wonderful project. Next year might be a good time for you to ask for some money. Not this year. And it works. So, Lucien, we look forward to your continued leadership. Let me share with you this thought as we have another peaceful transfer of power. And in this state, you are transferring the power of your governorship. It's a remarkable transition that happens every so many years throughout this state and in the country itself. It marks a very important statement about us as Americans, that we respect the rule of law. And when you think about our Constitution, and as trustees of our justice system and guardians of the Constitution, it is important to remind ourselves of what the preamble to the Constitution says. That we, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice as the first item on our agenda in launching this wonderful experiment we call democracy. Not healthcare, not the SEC, but justice. Because unless you have justice, you will have none of the other things that are necessary for a successful society. Lawyers are the trustees of the justice system. We didn't ask for it, but we assume that responsibility when we take the oath. We assume the mantle of leadership when we talk about how justice is dispensed in this country. And when we recognize that over 60 million Americans today qualify for services from the legal aid societies of our country, we need to do a better job. We need to protect those individuals who seek justice in order that they may share in the dream that we are so privileged to partake. This is not just an idea, it is a reality that we need to make happen. Over 1 million Tennesseans qualify for legal aid. But you also rank in the top 10 on the Justice Index of those stepping up to the plate and trying to make it happen. Over a quarter of you contribute financially, and over a third of you spend many hours giving a pro bono time. You are an example for us, and it continues to show that we cannot assume that government will take care of this. We cannot assume that the courts will take care of this. This is our responsibility, and in our time and in the window of opportunity that we have in our legal careers, we must be sure that we advance that idea that Learned Hand expressed so many years ago: thou shalt not ration justice. The key to, I think, the support that we have had in the legal aid community is the fact that we have been good partners. We have figured out that the importance of leveraging and collaboration are the key to successfully representing those without means. When you think about the examples that you have contributed as best practices, you should be proud of the fact that Darkenyon Waller over at the Legal Aid Society of Middle Tennessee and the Cumberlands has successfully partnered with the Tennessee Department of Children's Services in providing a very unique reentry program for children who have faced juvenile detention, but in particular those with intellectual and developmental learning abilities. It is important that they see a future for themselves, that they are not the recidivists that end up coming back to our institutions, but find hope in the fact that they may find a career for themselves. Or Sherry Fox with the Legal Aid of East Tennessee, and starting out, in 2004 with the First Family Justice Center and now having 4 of those centers, is a perfect example of the companionship and the collaboration that we have with our court system. And Harrison McIver, who invited me to come down and speak to the Legal Aid Society of Memphis Area Legal Services, has a great example of the most important aspects of what we do with the medical community, with the Children's Hospital and Memphis Legal Law School, in establishing a medical legal partnership, or West Tennessee Legal Services and Kareth and Clayton's idea of using the Microsoft portal to connect with her offices throughout the state. It is the collaboration of the private sector and the technology that they have access to that is going to differentiate the way in which we provide services to our clients. You should be proud, because we are proud, and we always ask your colleagues and your leaders to talk to us and talk to the rest of the country. Ann Pruitt has been a wonderful example of an individual who has shared her wisdom and knowledge with us on panels to talk about what we have to do to create the right alliance of legal aid organizations and those that help fund us. Your Supreme Court Chief Justice Jeffrey Bevins and Connie Clark have been wonderful examples of how the justices play a major role in how we advance legal services. And least I forget Buck Lewis, who is Mr. Legal Aid himself, and is a role model for all lawyers in this country. You represent the best of the profession. I thank you from the bottom of my heart, and for those who serve on the Legal Services Board, for the immense contribution that you make and the dedication that you serve. We have to think about how we are going to do better going forward. We have got to master the use of technology as a way of opening portals of access for those without means. We have got to be the ones to shepherd the ideas to the courts and to our government agencies about the idea that more people use smartphones today than they ever have in the history of our world existence. We've got to make those tools work for us so that they will work for them in achieving a better life, because they know there's somebody on the other end that's going to open a door for fairness and equity. We've got to use mediation and other dispute mechanisms to open up opportunities to keep us out of the court system as much as we can, and to be creative in the solutions that people can have, because once you go to court, it's more black and white. If you can stay out and create alternative dispute solutions, you've got a lot more flexibility to give people what they need. Let me make a shout out to John Levy, who is the chair of the board of Legal Services Corporation. His dad, this is another example of the apple not falling far from the tree. His dad was Attorney General under Gerald Ford. He was the president of the University of Chicago and the dean of the law school there. You talk about somebody who has given a lot. His dad has given a lot. But his sons give a lot too, because he's got another son named David who sat on the Ninth Circuit and is the dean of the Duke Law School. John is a partner at Sidley and Austin. I don't know how his clients allow him to give as much time as he does, but he is ever present in this country, advancing the attributes and the need for legal services. Single-handedly has changed the way Congress views the Legal Services Corporation. We were very much on the outs when we got there. John through his contacts, Jim Sandman through his leadership, Carol Bergman through her advocacy, Lynn Jennings through her administration, have transformed the Legal Services Corporation. We not only are one of the few parts of the government that gets more money every year, we continue, even in this really what I would call treacherous and tenuous time of trying to resolve a budget crisis. The last budget that came out from the House had legal services. Now, I don't know whether it's supposed to be broadcast publicly or not, so give me a little room for confidentiality. This is among us right now. But our budget last year was $410 million. We asked for level funding, figuring that was about as good as we could get. They put in $415 million. That's Congress. That's what they want us to have. We're fortunate. We've got friends on the Hill, but we've got to have friends in state legislatures too. we've got to make sure that that is matched in terms of intensity and commitment and the appreciation that more happens in this area to protect the lives of individuals than could ever be estimated or measured. We have got to be clear that this is a priority for us whenever we have the opportunity to share our thoughts, our suggestions, and our ideas with our legislators. The courts and the judges have an opportunity, I think, to be a lot more clear about the need for the support for legal services. We recognize the limitations on their voice, but fairness and justice is a part of their job, and they should articulate that without equivocation. We've got to get more from foundations who see the importance of developing an America for all, that part of that is equal justice. And we've got to always appreciate the fact that with the advances in technology, as I've said before, we've got to be sure that some of it is aiming our way. The Opioid Task Force, the Leaders Council that we've established, the Natural Disaster Task Force, and the Rural Legal Corps of young lawyers, students, spending time in legal aid offices around the country as a part of their career development is a phenomenon that we should all contribute to if you have the chance, but is making a difference. We're going to celebrate an important birthday Monday. And he really said it best. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Let us be vigilant. Thank you.
Let's thank Robert Gray again for being our keynote speaker today. Very inspiring words, Robert. I'd also like to take an opportunity to thank the many TBA volunteers and staff who made this luncheon possible and for all the events of the Leadership Conference this weekend. We appreciate everyone joining us here today to honor our award winners who have done so much to contribute to the community. They represent the best examples of the tireless commitment to stand up for the poor and underserved in Tennessee. Their work and yours serve to strengthen our legal system and help to ensure the continued promise of justice for all. Finally, we ask all of our award winners and all of our speakers to come to the stage for photos as we adjourn. Thank you so much for being here today, and have a great afternoon.